Yep, that's right, another Euro 2020 video. Hello and welcome to HITC Sevens, and to today's video, in which we're going to take a look at some of the finest players to have been overlooked for Euro 2020, before pondering how far our team of absentees would progress were they actually a team at the finals itself. I'm going to start with the best 11 of players who were left out in the truest sense of the term. As in, they could have been picked by national teams that are at Euro 2020, so they are non-injured players who haven't retired from international football. Some may have had one or two fitness concerns, who hasn't? I sustained a gruesome blister playing 7-a-side on Wednesday night, but none were actually ruled out of Euro 2020 through injury, at least as far as I'm aware. After that, I will take a quick look at an Ultimate 11 made up of the best European players who won't be at Euro 2020 for any reason, whether that be through injury, having retired from international football, or their nation failing to qualify. But the primary focus is the first 11. That's just an added bonus because I'm so bloody generous. If you feel grateful for my extraordinary act of generosity or guilt-ridden about my life-threatening blister, feel free to subscribe to the only YouTube channel to have made comprehensive documentaries about both the history of the offside law and a corruption scandal in Tajikistan, probably. Here is my first 11 of players that were properly left out of Euro 2020 squads. Goalkeeper, Alphonse Areola. This was actually quite a difficult one to get us started. Of the left-out keepers who weren't injured, my first thought was Sergio Ramos, but I haven't been overly impressed with him of late. There's also the likes of Kepa Arrizabalaga, whose stock has obviously fallen pretty dramatically, off the edge of a cliff, over the last couple of years, and Atalanta number 1, Pierluigi Gallini. In the end though, I went with Alphonse Areola, a man who has played more than 100 games for PSG, has won 4 league titles in 2 different countries, and was, I thought, really impressive at Fulham this season. Or last season now, I suppose. Areola has won 3 caps for France, 2 in 2018 and 1 in 2019, but he was left out by Didier Deschamps, who selected Hugo Lloris, Steve Mandanda and Mike Maignan ahead of him. Maignan has been excellent this season in fairness, and Lloris is France's captain. But I think Areola can feel pretty unfortunate to find himself behind Mandanda in France's pecking order. Right back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. There was another tough call to make at right back between Jesus Navas and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Meanwhile, honourable mentions are owed to the likes of Alvaro Odriozola, Hector Bellerin, Atalanta wingback Hans Hateboer, who is really more of a right-sided midfielder in truth, and England's litany of many other right backs. I went for Wan-Bissaka ahead of Navas, though either would have been worthy inclusions, because I think Wan-Bissaka was actually very impressive at Manchester United last season. In most eras, Wan-Bissaka would be England's first choice. In this one, he hasn't even won a cap, and may still yet represent DR Congo instead. Centre-back, Sergio Ramos. A much more obvious inclusion on the right side of centre-back, Sergio Ramos is probably the biggest name to have been left out of Euro 2020, and certainly among the biggest surprises when the various 26-man squads were announced, though Spain only actually picked a 24-man squad. Capped 180 times by Spain, Ramos is the most capped male European footballer of all time, and he is just 5 caps off becoming the most capped male footballer of all time from any nation or continent. At the age of 35 though, you have to wonder whether Ramos' last major international tournament has now been and gone. Ramos has had an injury-disrupted season at Real Madrid, which Spain boss Luis Enrique cited as his reason for leaving him out. However, Ramos has still played a lot more football than young Eric Garcia, who played just 382 minutes in the Premier League for Manchester City this season, but got the nod ahead of him, and he has even played more football than Aymeric Laporte, who was also selected ahead of him, having just been granted Spanish nationality. Centre-back, Dayot Upamecano. I must admit, it was a really tough call between Dayot Upamecano and Sven Botman when it came to who partnered Sergio Ramos as centre-back in my left-out Euro 2020 11. If it were based purely upon performances this season, at least when I've managed to watch both men in action, I think I'd have to give it to Botman, who has been outstanding for Lille. I went with Upamecano in the end though, who has been playing at a higher level for much longer, and is probably the safer bet in truth. Set to join Bayern Munich next month for more than €40 million, Upamecano has won 3 caps for France and has also bagged 1 goal, but he has been overlooked for the Euros by Didier Deschamps. In the France boss's defence, France's strength at centre-back is absolutely absurd, with the likes of Raphael Varane, Presnel Kimpembe and Jules Koundé. An added honourable mention here goes to Jerome Boateng, as well as Sven Botman of course. Left-back, Theo Hernandez. 2 outstanding left-backs have been left out of their national team squads for Euro 2020, namely Theo Hernandez and Sergio Reguilon. Subscribers to this channel will know all too well that I'm a big fan of Reguilon, who missed out to Jordi Alba and Jose Haya for Spain, but I have to start Theo Hernandez at left-back in light of his last couple of seasons. Following his controversial move from Atletico Madrid to Real Madrid, breaking a decades-long truce between the two clubs, it seemed as though Los Blancos had gone to all that effort for very little gain. Hernandez struggled at the Bernabeu and on loan at Real Sociedad before joining ailing Serie A giants AC Milan. He has been nothing short of immense ever since, and I do find it unusual in some respects that Hernandez still hasn't won a single cap. He finds himself behind his brother Lucas at Bayern Munich and Everton's Luca Dean in France's left-back pecking order, and he would be eligible to do a Laporte, so to speak, in the future, and choose to represent Spain instead. Holding midfield, Mikel Merino. Spain do not have the same squad and are not the same team that they were during that period from 2008 to 2012 when they looked to be untouchable on the international stage. But they do still have an abundance of quality in central midfield. That is best illustrated by the class of players that Luis Enrique has been able to leave out of his squad, such as the superb Mikel Merino. A graduate of the Osasuna youth ranks, Moreno had short stints at both Borussia Dortmund and Newcastle United, after leaving Osasuna in 2016. Real Sociedad signed Moreno for around £10 million from Newcastle in 2018, and that has proved to be a really excellent piece of business. Athletic and industrious, but also incisive and creative on the ball, Moreno has been among the standout midfielders in La Liga this season, and he kickstarts our midfield. Central midfield, Dani Parejo. We have a 2/3 Spanish midfield trio, and it could quite easily have been all 3. Mikel Merino and Dani Parejo are the 2 Spaniards who start, but very honourable mentions are owed to all 3 of Luis Alberto, Sergio Canales and Saul Niguez. Parejo is another man who previously spent a brief spell playing in England, at Queen's Park Rangers in his case, on loan from Real Madrid. He joined Valencia in 2011, where he spent 9 excellent seasons before saying a tearful goodbye to the woefully run club and signing for nearby Villarreal. It has very much been a case of new club, same old Parejo this season, as the 2-footed playmaker has pulled the strings in Unai Emery's midfield. He's a class act, and there aren't many national teams other than Spain that he wouldn't start for, let alone fail to make the squad. Central midfield, Eduardo Camavinga. Eduardo Camavinga did manage to break into the France squad last year at the age of only 17, which is a stupendous achievement when one thinks of the talent and depth available to France in central midfield. Following a stunning breakout campaign last season, Camavinga certainly hasn't disappointed this season, or last season. His performances just haven't been so good as to leave Didier Deschamps with no choice but to select him. It's worth bearing in mind that Camavinga is still only 18, so he has plenty of major tournaments and caps ahead of him, and his potential remains terrifying. He starts for me ahead of our trio of excellent Spaniards and fellow French youngster Houssem Aouar, among others, by virtue of the completeness of his game and the amount that he would bring to this team. Attacking midfield, Dimitri Payet. There are a number of players that I could have picked in attacking midfield, with very little to split them in truth. In the end, I went for Dimitri Payet, narrowly ahead of Iker Muniain, purely because I think he is a more gifted footballer who is more capable of producing moments of sheer magic. Payet scored one of the great goals of Euro 2016 for France, off the back of a sublime season at West Ham, where he made a mockery of the idea that players need time to adjust to life in the Premier League. But we shall see no such moments at this European Championships. The Réunion native, who has been back at Marseille since January 2017, has won just 1 cap for France since 2017, and that came in 2018. It would not be unreasonable, therefore, to suggest that Payet has probably played his last game for France, now aged 34. Payet has played all over the place over the course of his career, including as a centre-forward for much of this season, but he is at his explosive best when he's able to roam around towards the middle of the pitch, picking up the ball on the half-turn and running at opponents. I think I would probably pick Jesse Lingard ahead of Dimitri Payet, on current form, not in terms of talent, but at the time of this recording, I do not know whether he will be called up as Trent Alexander-Arnold's replacement in the England squad, so I thought it best just to leave him out. Just in case. Centre forward, Danny Ings. I feel very harsh on Patrick Bamford here since I have left him out, but my second English inclusion in this 11 is Danny Ings. A bit like the Botman versus Upamecano dilemma earlier on, based upon this season alone, you'd probably have to pick Bamford, but there's no doubt Ings has more pedigree at the highest level. Following a sensational 25 goals in the 2019-20 campaign, Ings only managed a more modest tally of 13 this season, though he did miss around 10 games out injured. A tireless runner who is happy to work the channels, but also has the instincts of a born goal-getter in front of goal, and a useful knack of hitting the ball early and catching the keeper off guard, Ings has won 3 caps for England, 1 in 2015 and 2 in 2020. But he missed out on a place in Gareth Southgate's squad to Harry Kane and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who were the only 2 out-and-out centre-forwards that Southgate selected. Centre-forward, Iago Aspas. The final inclusion in this 11, and there is still that other 11 very quickly to come at the end, Iago Aspas is one of the standout players left out of Euro 2020. Like Danny Ings actually, Aspas had a fairly forgettable stay at Liverpool, but also like Ings, he has been outstanding since leaving Anfield. Since signing for Celta Vigo in 2015, Aspas has bagged 116 goals in 227 games, as a seriously big fish in a fairly small pond. That record has earned him 18 caps during that time, from which Aspas has scored 6 goals. He has only won 1 cap since 2018 though, which came in 2019, so there was very little surprise when he was left out of Luis Enrique's Euro 2020 squad in favour of Alvaro Morata and Gerard Moreno. With 14 goals and 15 assists this season, from just 34 outings, Aspas was among the first names in this 11, and that means that Spain and France occupy 9 out of the 11 spots in this 11. Honourable mentions in the forward areas go to the likes of Julian Draxler, Moise Kean, James Maddison, Anthony Martial, Inaki Williams, Raul Garcia, and many, many others. Actually, come to think of it, I reckon I would start Maddison ahead of Payet, so there is your updated 11. So how far would that 11 get at Euro 2020? Well, it depends what group they were in and their route to the knockout stages, I suppose, but I don't think there are too many stronger starting 11s at the tournament than that. Maybe only 3 or 4, so the semis certainly wouldn't be beyond them. Well, that's my take at least. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Before that though, here is my rather dysfunctional but immensely talented full-on European best 11, not at the Euros, for whatever reason that may be. Jan Oblak starts ahead of Marc-Andre ter Stegen in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Theo Hernandez are the 2 fullbacks, and 2 of the finest attacking fullbacks in world football to boot. Virgil van Dijk and Sergio Ramos are arguably the 2 best centre-backs on the planet on their day, and they partner each other at the heart of our defence. Meanwhile, Mikel Moreno maintains his place at the base of our midfield, this time partnered by his Real Sociedad teammate David Silva, along with Miralem Pjanic and Sergej Milinkovic-Savic playing as a number 10 with a front 2 of Erling Haaland and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Jamie Vardy waiting in the wings, ready for Zlatan to pick up a muscle injury. That team, I think, would be in with an excellent shout of winning the Euros, if all were fully fit, and I would probably say that they were second only to France on paper, and there is not a fat lot in it. I'm sure I've missed someone in terms of at least one of the 2 11s, and even if not, I'm sure you will just have plenty of disagreements with my selections regardless, which is exactly how it should be. So feel free to let me know any alterations you would make in the comments, how you think mine or your teams would get on at the Euros, and just anything else that might be on your mind or that you might want to say, I suppose. Thank you all as ever for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Oh, I just said that. Just give us a like. That's always great. Apparently helps with the algorithm. Make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. And you can also find me on social media, on Twitter or Instagram. It's the same username on both. That is at HITC Sevens. So feel free to follow me for more of this sort of tedious rambling, unscripted, as you can tell. Absolute nightmare when I don't script. If you would like to. Probably not, but just throwing it out there. Cheers.